Hello everyone and Madayaw! Welcome. This is chapter 6 of my story, Big Bad Wolf Meets Big Beautiful Mate. So this story stars a werewolf named Gus, formerly known as Argus Urbane. Everybody calls him Gus. And Rosella. Everyone calls her Rose. So they're an odd pair, and the idea just struck me in the head that there's this werewolf who likes him big. I'm a big girl, so I like the idea that a werewolf would be attracted to somebody very different. In my last novel, which is Care Package Mate, my character there, his name is Caleb. He is a vampire, and his soulmate happens to be big, and that's where Gus got introduced. When we meet Gus is like, who's this morsel? And Caleb's like, back off, she's my mate. So, yeah, anyways, that's how we got first introduced to Gus. Now, we see a different side of him, that he's actually warm, cuddly, and vulnerable, even if he's like big and strong. Deep down inside, he has his issues. So he gets over the top, and it can scare some people away, but not Rose. But Rose's struggles is different. She has a shadow, which you will find out. Well, you've already found out if you have read my previous chapters. And of course, she's looking to Gus. She doesn't know if this feelings for Gus stems from friendship or a need to be saved or anything. So, she has her own struggles. And as the story progresses, I hope you're able to relate and feel for both these characters, actually. And if you do, thank you very much. And I hope you let me know, because these characters of mine, they have their own life, they have their own story, they're screaming for a voice, and I hope I'm giving them a voice. I hope that through me giving them a voice, you could see yourselves here, maybe escape into this fantasy, something. Let me know what you like about it, what you don't like, which chapters you like. If you think my pacing is too slow, too fast, there is gonna be only 12 chapters in total here. So I hope I've spaced it out evenly. So far, my word count is 55,000 words. I might extend it to like 60 or 65, putting in some in-betweeners, because I really want this to be, I want to put as much details as I can. So I hope I'm taking you guys on a journey. So let's get on with chapter 6. Chapter 6 of Big Bad Wolf Meets His Big Beautiful Mate. Chapter 6, Helicopters and Cheesecakes. Gus was in a bad mood. He didn't get a reading yesterday. Rose had changed the tent orientation and decor, and his date canceled. He did not have a good day. "If you're not going to be civilized, leave her be," Marcus said. "I mean it. Rose has the right to decorate her tent the way she fits. Besides, she's an earth element. She needs her home touches." He quoted her, and this seemed to irritate Gus. Gus huffed. "She could have her home touches elsewhere." His alpha paused and looked at Gus. "She isn't Mad Mariah, you know. You can't mold her into Mariah. Rose has her own way, her own personality." "I know that. Mariah's like 100 years old, and Rose is 100 pounds heavier. But don't fortune tellers follow a certain template?" Gus missed Mad Mariah, But the old fortune teller was retired. She was not coming back, not to work anyways. Marcus guffawed. No. They're as human as they can get, each with their own unique personality. Are you angry that she's replacing Mad Mariah, or are you angry she isn't reading what you want in life? The errant werewolf raised his hands in defense. What? No, I mean, that's not it, Gus said. The look on Marcus' face said the alpha didn't buy it. I'm glad Mariah's got a replacement. Rose reads only the basics, though, nothing too in-depth. Maybe because you don't tell her anything she can work with. Marcus knew the ins and outs of how fortune tellers work. He worked with plenty of them. Mariah was just one of them. Unfortunately, Gus took to Mariah the moment she joined the pack. She traveled with the pack and was thrilled to move back to the Philippines when Gus told her that was the newest Wolves resort site. Then she retired. She was getting old. Humans didn't really age that well. Doesn't she read what the cards tell her? It's more complicated than that. She interprets the cards based on how it applies to what situation we are currently in. It's a bit more intricate, Marcus said. He had many dealings with different types of witches, so he's more or less got the concept. Gus was looking for a crystal ball. Rose was not that kind of ball. Be nice to her, Gus. She's a wonderful lady and she's going places if she keeps this up. Besides, some of her clients are guests from other resorts. They come to Wolves to have a short chat with her. Because they're already here, they tour the gardens, drink coffee, play in the casino, even check out our amenities. I suppose I should apologize, Gus said. You do that, Gus. Now I have to talk to Lizzie. I think she's a Gemini, but I'm not quite sure. I know Rafe is an Aries, so he wouldn't let her go without a fight. Gus perked up. Lizzie is here? Until when is she staying? She's here to film a show. I'm sponsoring her by lending her a suite, where there's a large open kitchen. She says she's staying until Rafe comes back. Don't know when the pup's coming back home, so I'm keeping her indefinitely. Rafe Redmoon, werewolf chef extraordinaire, married a Filipina, a witch to be precise. She had an herbarium cum cafe in the province and refused to leave it. Rafe decided to stay and marry her. He still filmed his shows, and he had guest appearances in other shows. His wife had a ward named Lizzie, who was showing talents in the kitchen, as well as on social media. Rafe was training her. Since the pandemic, Rafe's mother and aunt contracted the disease. Rafe and his wife hurried to Dubai to nurse them. Doesn't Lizzie know how to make cheesecake? Gus suddenly knew how to make it up to Rose for his atrocious behavior. It was 3 in the morning. Rose put her things away in the console table and locked it. She cleaned up her tent and was packing for the night when Gus head popped in the tent flap. Surprised, she dropped some of her crystals. Luckily, there was plush carpet underneath to catch it. Oh, Gus. What do you want? Rose was tired and not in the mood to argue with Gus. Scared you? He asked. Rose shook her head, startled. Are you here for a reading? I haven't decided. She frowned. The werewolf was getting on her nerves. She was going to give him a piece of her mind and ban him from the tent completely. He pulled up something from his pocket and handed it to her. Pulled out. Peace. It's a cheesecake pop. A what? A cheesecake pop. You know, a cheesecake, but also a cake pop. A cheesecake pop. He handed her the said cheesecake pop. Rose unwrapped it, sniffed it, and tentatively gave a tiny bite. Marcus told me I was being horrible. Mad Mariah's style isn't your style. Each witch is unique. I should be grateful you're here. You give everyone readings, even those you can't afford. Also, you bring in some customers from the other casinos. Thanks. Did she feel flattered that the resort valued her, or he valued her reading skills? Gus was a confusing werewolf. So, packing up already, or do you have time for more cheesecake? She was already munching on the cheesecake pop. It was good. Better than good. Whoever made this loved cheesecake. It had a mixture of 3 different cheeses. Cheesecake, you say? She didn't want to go to her van, in case Elle was there. Gus smiled. Come, the chef has prepared some cheesecake that you'll have to try. Rose closed her tent and followed Gus. He took her to the casino at the other end of the plaza. But instead of going to the floors, they headed to the elevator. Rose knew there were several eating and drinking establishments in the casino. She hasn't seen them yet because she could never really afford eating in them. Gus pressed the rooftop button. When they reached the top floor, there was a helicopter waiting for her. Come on! He pulled her hand when she hesitated. Her skirt was flying in all directions. She was not ready for a helicopter ride. Where are we going? To the sky, he shouted over the sounds. They raced to the helicopter and were given headsets. Rose hopped in and tucked her skirts between her legs. It was a roomy helicopter. She didn't expect the space, or perhaps because there was only Gus and her and the pilot. I didn't know wolves had a helicopter. Even with the headset, she could hardly hear anything but the whirling. Gus shook his head. We don't. It's a third-party provider. I hired them for the evening. He strapped her seatbelt, securing her before he strapped his. The helicopter took off and circled around the metropolitan area. Rose's stomach lurched. She never rode in an airplane before, much less a helicopter. This was definitely a first for her. She also never seen Manila from the sky before. She giggled when she realized werewolves were now flying the skies. This would be first. Gus was such an odd wolf. Rose looked out the window. There was magic in the city amidst the desolation and westernization. She felt the aura of the city emanating right from underneath it. If only people knew about it. Perhaps they felt it, but didn't know what it was. Metro Manila was jam-packed with people. Still, it drew more. Why? There weren't many opportunities. It was polluted and corrupt. But here she saw the aura of the city. There was a dormant power here. It also carried so much history. The ancestral energy was still present. Manila, Intramuros in particular, was a path of ley lines. Only those who were attuned to it could feel it. Perhaps the untapped energy consciously drew people here. She would be forever grateful for this opportunity. Since coming to Wolves, she tasted the greatest delicacies, made friends with great people, felt valued for her talents. And now she can add helicopter rides to this opportunity. Now for cheesecake! Gus pulled a picnic basket from beside his seat. It had several food containers. He handed her a fork. Here. Cheesecake in the sky? Only the best. He opened the first container. Chardonnay cheesecake topped with seedless white grapes. Rose forked a piece of cheesecake and tasted it. It was bliss in her mouth. She closed her eyes and savored the cheesecake. Try this. He opened the next container. Rosemary, lime, and kefir cheesecake. The smell was divine. She knew she'd never eat something like this again. Rose savored every bite she took. Gus only took a few bites. She didn't care anymore, not when it came to cheesecake. Whoever this chef was, she had to meet him. Ginger, rosemary, rose hip, and gotu-kola leaves. That was the third cheesecake. I've got to meet him. The chef is a genius. It's a cleansing cheesecake. Gus frowned. A cleansing cheesecake? Ginger, rosemary, rose hip, and gotu-kola leaves? Those are all cleansing and detox herbs. Even rosemary, lime, and kefir. Those are all used to expel bad juju. Rose explained. Oh, makes sense. The chef is Rafe Redmoon and Daria Larios' ward. The Rafe Redmoon? Everyone on the planet knew Rafe Redmoon. They knew him, his fiery temper, and his recent marriage to a Filipino witch. If they had a ward, she was gonna have the know-hows of a witch and the talents of a chef. Is his ward a witch or a werewolf? Neither. Lizzie is fully human. Rose bit into the cheesecake. She's quite talented then. Very talented. Marcus is having deals with her behind Rafe's back. Rafe's gonna bleed him for that. For Marcus, it's just business. Lizzie's talented. She's also becoming a social media darling, he explained. I wouldn't want to see them go at it. The thought of two werewolves fighting each other made her sick. I would. I'd like to see Rafe try. Marcus is tough. Those muscles of his aren't decoration. He trains every day, every week to get his wolf and himself in shape. Why? Isn't he running a desk job? Ha! Running a business pack doesn't mean you're behind a desk all the time. There's still some challengers to take your throne or your deals. You'd have to fight for the right. Gus thumped his chest. Marcus has been bleeding other packs and other creatures to get to the top. Also, he's very hands-on in the business. You can hardly see him in the office. It seems there was more to being a business pack than she thought. She might be learning a lot more about werewolves than most people. One last cheesecake. Gus opened another food container. This is her masterpiece. Chocolate, peanut butter chocolate, and M&M's cheesecake, he said as he showed her the towering piece inside the plastic container. Rose gasped. She was salivating when he described it, and when she saw it, she wanted to cry. It's beautiful. Dig in. Oh, she didn't hesitate. Every bite was divine. She could taste every ingredient in this cheesecake. The chef did not hesitate to use the finest ingredient. If she could get more of this, she would read Gus's cards daily. She looked up to see Gus watching her intently. His eyes were growing bright gold, like a wolf's. She didn't know where her inner boldness came from, but she scooped a bit of frosting from her fingers and extended it to his lips. Her fingers disappeared in Gus's mouth, tongue licking them before releasing them. She blushed. So did he. After the cheesecakes were cleared, the helicopter made its way back to Wolves. The whole trip took an hour and a half, but it was the best hour and a half in her life. Somehow all her worries disappeared during the helicopter ride. Thanks, Gus. You are so very welcome. When they were in the elevator, she asked, Is Lizzie here? She had to meet her. Gus nodded. I guess you could meet her just before her filming. Filming? Yeah, she's doing her own cooking show. She doesn't want to tell Rafe about it. Marcus is sponsoring her a sweet room to film in. Any ingredients she needs and the meet and greet event after she launches her series. For Marcus and Wolves, it would be a promotion. It would be a good promotion. I won't be able to sleep. I'm gonna stay right here and wait for her. Whoa there, excited much? It's not even 5 in the morning. What time does she shoot? 7. She wants to shoot 3 episodes in a day. She's afraid Rafe would come home any day and pull the plug. If she rakes in her subscribers, he can't pull her anymore. I'm hitting the gym for a couple of hours then. That would give her a break from Gus and clear her head. The werewolf was doing things to her body that no man had ever done. Was it the cheesecake? 7 in the morning, she had burned half the cheesecake away from her hips in the gym. Afterwards, she had a long shower. Gus picked her up as she exited the locker room of the gym. Ready? Yes! She couldn't wait. They went up to the Simians and reached the 12th floor. Marcus had 15 floors. This was high up. Gus led her to one of the corner rooms. Knocked on the door. A second later, it swung open. Rose wasn't ready to see a full production team. There was at least 30 people in the room. I thought you said it's just a video for YouTube. This is, but Marcus wanted to go all out. You did tell him this was a big deal, he pointed out. He's going to bring the big guns out. Lizzie will love it here, and I'll get to see a fight between Rafe and our alpha. The promise of a fight seemed to excite him. This is really serious, isn't it? Oh yes. Rafe doesn't know how valuable Lizzie is. In fact, Marcus wants you to do a reading for her. Charge it to Marcus. Marcus wants Lizzie to be the new face of Wolves. Ha ha, that's funny. I thought you said Lizzie was fully human. Gus thought about it. Business is business. He led her to Lizzie was having her makeup done. Oh, hi. Oh, hi, Nina. I didn't know you'd be here. Have you met Rosella? He addressed the lady putting makeup on Lizzie. To Rose, he said, "This is Nina, Marcus's wife. The imp on the chair is Lizzie." "Hey, after I made you those cheesecake?" Lizzie stuck her tongue out at Gus. "It's a term of endearment," Gus joked. Right. Lizzie was a young teenage girl, and she was all dolled up for the shoot. Rose didn't expect her to be so young. Rose approached her. "I wanted to meet you. Those were the best cheesecake ever. I felt like I died and went to cheesecake heaven." "Really?" "Yes, especially the ginger rosemary rosehip and gotu-kola leaves. Those are all cleansing and detox. Eating them can expel bad vibes and surface curses," Rose said. "Really? Wow, you're like Daria. She's so good with the herbs." Lizzie's pigtail bounced as she bounced on the tall chair. "I'm not a witch, but I learned things from Daria and Rafe." "You could make a line of food that can counter particular spells." "Most herbs could do that. Even non-witches could do it. They made it all the time in Eastern medicine." They could see the wheels turn behind Lizzie's eyes. She was thinking of something already. "I will definitely do a series on that. Marcus says I can film all I want. I'll need to consult with you, though." "I'm happy to be your consultant." Rose would love to be part of whatever Lizzie was doing. It was clear that she was a talented person. She also had a contagious enthusiasm. "Yay! Marcus said you'd read for me later." When she bobbed her head, her pigtails bounced with her. Lizzie was young and adorable. Rose could see why Marcus thought she was great for vlogs and podcasts. The young lady was very appealing. She'll surely charm a wider audience than Rafe Redmoon. Rose nodded. "Of course, but I don't think I could charge you anything. Those cheesecakes were worth it. Thank you for them." "I'll make you all the cheesecakes you want. If you could be my consultant." "I would." That would be all the payment she need. Gus laughed. "Look at you two. You're getting along. Make sure to use me as your guinea pig so I can taste those cheesecakes too." "Marcus would be so happy," Nina said. "Hi, Rosella. We haven't been formally introduced yet." "Usually when wolves introduce each other, it's over food," Rose laughed. "I've noticed. Please call me Rose." "He'll get used to it, Rose. Stella and I are excited to get a reading too." "Any time." "Wonderful. Once things settle down, we'll pop by." Stella's busy planning herbs and opening a new store while I have to play mommy to my kids. And grown wolves 10 times my age. Literally, they all laughed. "You're a superwoman, Nina." "Marcus knew it from the start," Gus said. "Ha! Now let's get this show on the road." Nina directed everyone to the set, which was very sleek modern kitchen. The odd thing about this room is that it had a kitchen in the middle of the living room. Nina told her that Marcus himself designed it so that people could rent the room when they wanted to entertain guests while cooking. One side of the room were the floor-to-ceiling glass windows. Lizzie was positioned just before the glass, so while she cooked, the view of the whole resort could be seen. In a way, this was promotion for wolves. Rose could see why Marcus wanted to support Lizzie's YouTube channel. Lizzie was a natural. She was charming, funny, very enthusiastic. Her phone was on, taking everything in for a Facebook Live broadcast. Rose could see her followers react. "This is great," Gus whispered to her. "Look, even Wolf's PR team is streaming the show. Next month, there's going to be a lot of people at the meet and greet. Marcus is excited." Rose was too. It was going to be in the plaza. She might get more customers. "Thank you, Gus, for last night and this morning." She kissed Gus on the cheek. He was a good friend, someone she'd never expect to have. When she decided to come here in a short period of time, wolves became her family. She had no regrets leaving home. Nina noticed the kiss Rose made on Gus's cheeks. She smiled but kept it to herself. People were talking about these two. Apparently, Gus has been taking Rose all over wolves. This morning, he took her to a helicopter ride. Now she finds out that Lizzie had baked
cheesecake for Rose. She wondered what Gus promised Lizzie, so she'd bake. Gus was such a character. He and his best friend Brutus were always making trouble. When they didn't like something, they had a mantrum. A mantrum was a tantrum by big grown men. The first time she experienced their mantrum, she wanted to take a photo. Gus and Brutus were of similar size. They were big, not as tall as Marcus and Caleb, but just as bulky. Gus was sad to see Brutus go to the Macau branch, but Marcus had assigned him there. He would be running that resort. For this resort, Marcus hasn't decided who to leave here. It was originally supposed to be Brutus, but since the pandemic, the Macau branch sent an SOS to Marcus. He sent Brutus and a few others. He ran the Manila branch personally. He hated being stuck like this, but he never will admit to that. Nina loved Marcus. She's trying to make sure she was prepared to move to Australia. They were delayed because of the wedding, then the pandemic hit. Marcus told her perhaps it would be a year or two before they could leave. Her kids had gone through a lot in all this. Their father tried to kill them. She was so happy Marcus claimed them as his own. He became a father figure to them. Now, since the pandemic, they had to go online learning. He bought them a laptop each and hired tutors. Rick's wife was a teacher, and she switched online. She helped out a lot as well. Since they lived at the Simeons, the kids were happy. It was a giant playground to them. They had the water park, the gardens to roam around. They swam once a week and as a reward for doing well in school. Nina or one of the packmates took the kids down to the gardens or the boardwalk. They needed regular exercise so they didn't feel stuck in Marcus's unit. Nina went up the unit. It was in the 11th floor and took up a fourth of the floor. Marcus renovated and made sure it included 4 bedrooms. That way the kids will have privacy. Only the 2 younger girls shared a room. They didn't want to be apart. When she arrived at the luxurious suite, she was greeted by the kids. The babysitter handed her Marcus Jr. He was such a quiet child. Nina could see a hidden strength behind his eyes. He was definitely a werewolf. A few minutes later, Marcus sent up cheesecakes to the suite. He said it was to treat the kids. She smiled. The man was generous to her children, and it endeared him to her. Growing up, they hardly had anything. Marcus made sure they were provided for and had the best education. He also made sure they had the best health care. Nina's youngest girl had anemia. Nina always made sure they ate well, even before she met Marcus. She even had to dance at the fruit bar just to make ends meet. That was the past, and this was her future. Perhaps she should go to Rose. Rose can do a reading just to alleviate her feelings of anxiety. She made a mental note to also bring Stella. End of chapter 6.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Please follow me for more. You may check out my social media channels and my website. Here it is. The full list of chapters will be there. So until next time, till the next chapter, thank you, everyone.